A mysterious birth in the mountains. In a remote mountain village in Ondong, South Korea, back when people used to say, "Cows have it better than us," a baby boy was born. The year was 1964. The family? Dirt poor. The boy? Lee Jae-myung, child number 7 out of 9. Fun fact: his birth wasn't even registered on time. The family had to ask a local fortune teller to pick a birthday. What did they get? December 22nd, 1924, the same date Korean independence fighter Lee Jae-myung launched his mission. Lee would later joke, "That might not even be my birthday, honestly." My mom probably wasn't sure either. He walked 5 kilometers to elementary school uphill, both ways, no joke. Skipped classes to help with the farm. Got smacked by teachers for showing up late, and still dreamed of becoming a teacher. Why? So I could hit kids back. Of course. Very pragmatic. But life got rougher fast. His dad gambled away the farm. The family packed up and ran, quite literally, to a tiny, damp semi-basement in Songnam's slum district. Yes, exactly like the one from the movie Parasite. Industrial cog, young Lee in the factory. Middle school? That was never on the table. Lee's dad shut that dream down real quick. School? You want to eat, or study? Go earn some money. So at just 13, Lee stepped into his first job. Soldering necklaces in a factory, 12 hours a day, every day. The air was thick with lead fumes. His hands were constantly burned. His lungs? Probably a metallic mess. Next stop, a glove factory. Not your average sporting goods shop. This was a hardcore press machine gig, slicing leather all day long. He was good. Too good. So good, in fact, that he became a press operator. And that's when it happened. His wrist got crushed. The machine didn't care. It just slammed down. His growth plate shattered, and his left arm never bent properly again. Did he get compensation? A lawyer? A union rep? Nope. Back then, you got injured at work and the only person who blamed you was you. I guess it was my fault for not paying attention. The factory was hell. Home wasn't much better. His father changed the light bulbs to dim ones, on purpose, to stop him from reading. Imagine reading in a cave. That was Lee's teenage dreamscape. Then one day, he found out the factory manager, the one yelling at everyone, was just a high school grad. That was his aha moment. Wait, I don't even need to go to school? I can pass a test and be considered educated. And that's when he discovered the magical word GED. The fight back had begun. Nights for studying, days in hell, a pencil lead in the age of iron. By day, he worked in factories. By night, he ran to cram schools. No friends, no fun, just books and burnt fingertips. If I'm gonna die, I'd rather do it in front of a test paper than under a press machine. And somehow he did it. Passed the middle school equivalency test, then the high school one. Then, boom, he got into law school. Central University, School of Law. And here's the kicker: he showed up wearing a uniform. Yeah, a full-on school uniform. Not because it was required, because he'd never had the chance to wear one before. So now that he could, he rocked it with pride. Sure, everyone stared like I was weird, but to me, it was the coolest outfit I ever owned. Some kids wore suits to class. Lee wore his dreams. Bar exam? Crushed it, on the second try. Lee passes the bar exam. His score? Good enough to become a judge. But then, he walks into this dusty lecture hall. There's a human rights lawyer on stage wearing a rumpled suit, talking like he doesn't care who's listening. The guy says, "Lawyers don't starve." That one line lit something in Lee's chest. Not just the message, but the man behind it. That scrappy speaker, Roh Moo-hyun. Yeah, the future 16th president of South Korea. And right there, Lee's whole career path shifts. He didn't chase power, he chased people, and maybe just enough income to not starve. The day he chose politics, a tear-stained lunchbox and a broken system. Lee had done it all: factory worker, student, lawyer. He thought maybe now life would calm down. Yeah, right. Then both public hospitals in Songnam shut down. Gone. Poof. Citizens, over 20,000 of them, signed a petition. Lee helped draft a bill. Took it straight to the city council. Their answer? "We're not even gonna read it." Lee snapped. He and a group of citizens chased council members through City Hall. Literally. And he got arrested. Charges? obstructing public business, damaging property. Cut to a jail cell, a metal bench, a sad little convenience store lunchbox. Lee eats in silence and starts to cry, not because he's scared, because he's furious. If this is how the system treats people just trying to help, then screw it. I'm changing the system myself. And that was the day a politician was born, not out of ambition, but out of rage, injustice, and one soggy bite of kimbap. Lee the politician, losing, and finally winning. So he decided to enter politics. And, it didn't go great at first. 2006, runs for mayor of Songnam. Loser. 2008, goes for a seat in the National Assembly. Still a loser. At this point, people start whispering, maybe he should stop embarrassing himself. Lee, he leans in. Embarrassing? Nah, I'm just getting started. Most folks drop out after one loss. 2, if they're stubborn. 3, now you're just a walking meme. But here's the thing, Lee never ran to look good. He ran for people who couldn't afford to run for themselves. And finally, 2010, he wins, becomes mayor of Songnam. I'm not a polished candidate. I'm just the one who stuck around. Every defeat, just another door he knocked on, another hand he shook, another promise he made. Lee didn't build his career on strategy. He built it on sheer refusal to give up. Governor mode, activated. The Fighting Rooster. Level up. Lee becomes governor of Gyeonggi Province, Korea's biggest, most chaotic region. Fun fact, conservatives ran that place for 16 years. Lee? He shows up like, my turn. First order of business, tears down illegal riverside cafes. Next, bans mass religious gatherings during COVID-19. Then, launches Korea's first ever universal basic income. The media? Freaks out. The establishment? Panics. The people? Start listening. He wasn't just governing, he was bulldozing through everything nobody else dared to touch. And the nickname, the Fighting Rooster, Lee didn't deny it. Yeah, I fight. But only when people try to punch down. He didn't care if he ruffled feathers, especially if those feathers belonged to the rich and powerful. Some say he made noise, but the truth is, he made change. Mr. Soda enters the race. A fizzing campaign begins. Late 2016. South Korea was on fire. Not literally but politically. Total meltdown. People flooded the streets, holding candles like flashlights made of fury. And guess who was the first in politics to shout, impeachment is the answer? Yep, Lee Jae-myung. That's when the nickname stuck. Mr. Soda. Why? Because his words were fizzy. His delivery? Sharp. His vibe? Refreshingly confrontational. He was spicy, he was bold, and yeah, maybe a little salty too. A sparkling water of a man if that water punched you in the face with policy. Then came 2017. He ran for president. Side note, Moon Jae-in won that election, South Korea's 19th president. Lee went up against heavyweights like Lee Nak-yeon and An Hee-ju. He placed third, but no one forgot him. He didn't win, but man, he fought. People weren't just giving him a pity clap, they were planting a seed. The next time, he might really do it. His platform? Basic income, basic housing, basic fairness. Critics called it populist, but the public started going, wait, this actually makes sense? Lee wasn't just a mayor anymore, or a governor. He was officially in the big leagues. When he spoke, headlines followed. When he turned his head, polls shifted. Like it or not, Lee Jae-myung was now center stage. Thought it was over? Nah, that was just the warm-up. Presidential election. Lee runs again, and loses by a hair, 0.73%. The tightest margin in Korean election history. People sighed. Well, that's it for him. But Lee, he's the kind of guy who gets knocked down and says, cool, my turn again. Then came 2024. Busan. Public appearance. A man walks up and stabs him in the neck. Yes, the neck. It was almost fatal. Almost. Because guess what? Lee doesn't die. He gets patched up. Walks back out with stitches and a scar. but also with fire in his eyes. Meanwhile, the government collapses. President Yoon gets impeached. The whole country turns its head and goes, okay, so who now? Who's been through hell and come back swinging? Who knows what it means to hurt and still get up? The answer wasn't in doubt. Lee Jae-myung. And finally, June 3, 2025, the day of South Korea's 21st presidential election. Lee Jae-myung wins. The kid who once cried in a factory with his arm crushed in a press machine, now he gets to lean that same arm on the presidential desk at the Blue House. The wrist is still bent. It never healed straight. But now, it's more than just an injury, it's his signature. His forehead carries scars. His past carries scandals, attacks, and survival stories. And yet, he's still standing. Politics, for me, was survival. Some people can quit. I never had that option. That wasn't a quote. That was his life in a sentence. Lee didn't run for power. He ran to survive, to keep a promise, and to fight for the kids out there still getting yelled at for wanting to read. He's not just president. He's living proof that the system can be cracked and still rebuilt from the inside. Bent, but unbroken. There once was a kid born in the mountains. He walked 5 kilometers to school, worked in factories before he could grow a mustache, got his arm crushed, got told to shut the books and shut up. The world said, you can't. But he kept saying, watch me. And now, that same kid, the one with the crooked wrist and the stubborn heart, sits in the president's chair. His hand may not straighten, but it reaches farther than ever, to lift up the hands of those who were once told, you'll never make it. His name is Lee Jae-myung, and his story, that's no longer just his, it's Korea's, and it's just getting started.